I made it. I survived. Looks like you guys made it too. All right. Hey, it's good to see you. Wow, it's kind of dangerous out here. We were just joking a couple of months ago about the end of the world and all, and I guess it ain't so funny after all. There's an old saying, war is hell. Although now people say war is hella bad, Bromo Sapien. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I know. I don't know who started it, but I know who finished it. Yeah, I guess we might have had it coming to us. We're kind of rowdy. We get into fights, and I think this is one that nobody won. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since we invaded Iraq, or as it's now called, Operation I've Made a Terrible Mistake. 10 years. Well, they say that time flies when you're shooting guns. Yeah. Bing! 10 years, man. And I look back at that time. It was right after 9/11, and the Bush people, they were telling us that Iraq was somehow responsible, which wasn't true. They told us that the hijacker Mohammed Atta had met with a senior Iraqi official in Prague. Wasn't true. They told us all these lies. And you know what? War is something that should be as a last resort, It should be after you've exhausted all of your other options, then you go to war. But this was an elective war. This was something they wanted to do. They really wanted to go to war, but just not personally. Yeah, we call these guys chicken hawks, We call them chicken hawks because they actively avoided actively serving in Vietnam, but then they very bravely, heroically are willing to send your kids to go fight in some country that did what? They looked at us bad. We said, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And they said, "Nothing." And we said, "Oh, you call me nothing? Come on, let's go, punk." Right? And then we went to war. And boy, oh boy, they sure did sell this war, didn't they? They had a marketing campaign that was just insane. It would have made a dazzling episode of Mad Men, First they tell us, "Oh, we'll be greeted as liberators," Then they tell us that it won't be another Vietnam. And then this was my favorite. "This war won't be measured in years, but rather months, or maybe even weeks." I love that story. Tell me again about the little puppies and the rabbits, and I would pet them and pet them. They made it sound like it was going to be a drive-through war or even a drive-by war, Oh, this won't take long at all. No, not at all. It won't be another Vietnam. That's right, because this one isn't in the jungle. This one is in the desert. Totally different. Yeah. Oh no. And apparently, they kept changing the rationale for the war, First, all the different things. They told us that the Iraqis were pursuing nuclear weapons. Then they told us that they were stockpiling chemical and biological weapons. And I think ultimately it turned out that we went there over some unpaid parking tickets. I don't know, man. I can't even keep track anymore. And you know what? There was a lot of us, we saw it coming and we said, no, we don't want to go to war with Iraq, right? And so we organized I just attended, but they organized the world's largest demonstration. In the history of the world, millions of people around the world demonstrated. It was the biggest thing ever. And you know what? Mr. Bush said, "Well, we don't respond to focus groups." Focus groups! Everybody in the world is telling you, "Don't do it, it's a huge mistake, don't do it, you'll be sorry, you break it, you buy it, don't go." But no, they had to go anyways, right? And we got in there and it was like getting stuck in quicksand. The harder we struggled, the faster we sank. And, as the casualties started mounting and it got worse and worse and it dragged on longer and longer, it became really hard. People started questioning finally, like, "Hey, why did we go here? What are we doing there? How can we exit honorably without a victory?" What are our people fighting and dying for? And most importantly, why hasn't the price of gas gone down? Oh, dear. I was disappointed with that as well. But we had it all, man. They really sold it to us. We had it all. We had smart bombs, bunker buster bombs, Buster Hyman missiles. We had the Powell doctrine of overwhelming force. We had shock and awe. We had Shaka Khan. We had Ratha Khan. We had a Khan job, you know? And if you demonstrated against the war, they would say to you, uh-oh, I'm losing my guns. I'm losing my bullets. They're taking away my guns, man. I told you they're going to take away our guns, man. All right. Well, I got my trusty rusty here. Yeah, man, that reminds me. If you demonstrated against the war, they would say, oh, you think Saddam Hussein's really wonderful then? Well, if you love Saddam Hussein so much, why don't you just go over there and give him a big old rusty venture? Alrighty. We finally got all these smart bombs going, and it turned out the smart bombs were smarter than the chicken hawks that deployed them. But we did get some smart people in the government finally who did the right thing. They said, oops, and got out. So post-war Iraq, by the way, is a mess, as will be Afghanistan when we finally extricate ourselves from that jar of amber. But I'll tell you this, folks, to get out of that trap, we just might have to bite off our foot. And I am opposed, I've said this before, I am opposed to, what do they call that? Nintendo warfare, this kind of fighting by remote control. I think it makes it too easy for us to get involved over there. And, like most men, I'm not so hot for getting involved, if you know what I mean. But I have a couple of family members that are in the armed services, and so I'm all for pretty much anything that we can do to keep our people out of harm's way. But it worries me because, we've got these predator drones flying and blowing people up in Afghanistan and Pakistan and can't understand. And the thing is, it's really, really hard. That's what she said. It's really, really hard to win the hearts and minds of people when you're turning members of their family into a hail of meatballs. I know, it sounds like it should totally work. The history of war goes back before there was even history. It goes back at least to the time where the Cro-Magnons rubbed out the Neanderthals, or so the story goes. Thing is, there were nomadic tribes and stuff, and they were fighting over the scarce resources, and, it's like, this our water hole, piss off, right? And then, they got a little bit more sophisticated. They learned how to grow their own. And once you start growing your own, you get, really, really dedicated to defending your land, and that is what I think put the aggro in agriculture. Oh, dear. And if you became a really fierce warrior and a good fighter, you could become the leader of your whole tribe, of your whole city, your village. You could become a king. You could become a president. You could have steaks and liqueurs named after you. That would be great, wouldn't it? All you got to do is go out and slaughter a bunch of people. It's cool. People respect that. And, okay, you've all heard of this book, The Art of War, by this fella, Sun Tzu. And this book has been indispensable to military leaders throughout the centuries, easily as indispensable as A Catcher in the Rye is to lone assassins. Oh! So, Lao Tzu in The Art of War says this: the art of war, I wish I had a flute playing behind me. The art of war is vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road to either safety or ruin. And that's just page 1. Ancient Chinese secret, huh? Oh, dear. Well, you know what? In 100,000 years, we've gone from the stone knife to the nuclear bomb. And in 100 years, we've gone from being able to slaughter thousands of people in a single battle to being able to snuff all life off of the planet. Thankfully, the people who have their fingers on the button thus far have decided that's not such a good idea. Yeah, let's not do that. That whole blowing up the world thing, yeah, not a big fan. Let's not do that. Okay. But anyways, so we developed the bomb, and then we were the big shot on the block for a little while there. And then the Russians stole it, and then they made a bootleg copy of it for China, you know. Thanks, man. You know, we got no money for any of that, no royalties. They've been pirating our stuff ever since. It's really deplorable. But when they got the bomb too, that shifted the balance of power, you know. So we could no longer go toe-to-toe with the Ruskies. We had to kind of engage in a Cold War, proxy wars in South America and Korea and Vietnam. In fact, the Cold War is how most American school children learn geography. And now that we've got this wonderful global war on terror, my goodness, we're getting this really, really scintillating travelogue of Africa and India and the Lower East Side of Tasmania. We did develop this interesting concept because the planet is actually more peaceful than it has been in a long time. And I think part of that is that Europe, they lost their taste for bloodshed after World War II, and also developing the United Nations and world courts in which people can redress their wrongs without having to, go and blow people up. But also the development of the bomb and the mutual assured destruction. MAD, mad. It's a mad world. It is. And it's also very angry. Technology is making it easier for us to go to war. But I want to know when technology is going to make it easier for us to get the hell out of war. Right? Can I get an amen? I guess not. Okay, well, I got one amen. All right, we'll try to get a couple of more amens after the next break. All right, let us go to our very first rollie. It is about the military. It is about our brave men and women serving their country and serving the interests of their country's benefactors. Why don't you please... What's that? Wow, that doesn't really work anymore. For decades, they've been the most elite squad of America's military might, doing whatever can't be done by the Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines, and have been given a great deal of latitude by the government and the public. But a growing cloud of controversy has gathered over them with allegations of bullying, domestic violence, sexual assault, and even murder, all of which threatens to tarnish the sterling reputation of the organization G.I. Joe. I spoke to 5-year Joe squad member Zeke about his experiences within the group. That's a lovely song. What's it called? It's called Drop and Give Me 20, Scumbag. Sir, during all your time with the G.I. Joe team, you've probably seen it all. Seen it all, done it all. Some of it wasn't very pretty, sir. A number of cases have come to light of new recruits complaining of bullying. It's not bullying. It's just a little good-natured hazing. Toughens up the newbies and establishes a sense of camaraderie. Well, just this year, 3 of your newbies committed suicide. Well, you see, the hazing, that weeds out the weaklings, for we have to rely on them during a mission, when lives are on the line. The system works. But don't you think that... I said it works, you maggot! Sir, are those guitar strings human hair? Maybe. Since the Second World War, the G.I. Joe team, in deference to their skill and courage, have been catered to and even feared. Hey, you guys are great. Hey, speaking of great, I hear we got some Joes here today. You already know to stay on their good side, and you never show them a picture of your girl back home. They can always call dibs. If G.I. Joe does it, it's not a crime. Yo, Joe. I just want to say, you're doing a heck of a job in Baghdad.
Members of the military have gotten perks and passes for centuries, and the Joes are an elite branch of that group, so they have virtual carte blanche when it comes to misconduct and even illegal behavior. To a degree, they really believe that their shit doesn't stink because it's been ordered not to.
Duke has been in the Joes for over 20 years, calls himself a lifer.
It's leftist liberal media blowing this whole thing out of proportion.
So the horrifying number of sexual assaults, those that have been reported at any rate, they're all fiction?
Alleged sexual assault. Most of these are just party girls, all drunk and showing their wigglies at the guys. They totally want it. And if you don't give it to them, they'll tell everybody you did. If anybody's being forced, it's us. They're the ones who want it.
Even the unconscious ones?
They want it the most. I suppose you're referring to the viral video on the internet? That was totally unacceptable. Whoever uploaded that footage should be punished.
And would it surprise you to learn the majority of complaints of alleged sexual assaults come not from party girls, but from other G.I. Joe personnel?
Come on. You know how hot the girls look in those uniforms? What with everything left to the imagination?
Nearly half the complaints come from men.
What? They let themselves get boned by a chick?
I didn't want to be within reach when he finally understood. The highest ranking female in the Joe organization, Scarlett, was on assignment, so I talked to her second in command, Mademoiselle Marie. I asked her why not a single Joe had ever been convicted of a crime.
We take all allegations seriously and investigate every single claim rigorously before dismissing the case. And I can assure you there are no cover-ups, just the occasional covert ups.
It sounds as if there have been lots of claims, particularly of sexual harassment.
We checked them out, and the persons filing the false claims were disciplined.
Still, it must take a great deal of courage for someone to come forward with such an accusation against someone they've worked with, trusted with their life, knowing they will not be believed and will ultimately be drummed out of the service for it.
Yes, I suppose that is a courage few of us will ever know, because it never happens to any of us.
At the root of this institution of violence is the man responsible for setting the tone, the G.I. Joe drill instructor.
What you call abuse, I call correction. What you call criminal complaint, I call belly aching. We send these soldiers into harm's way, where they may be captured and have to endure God Almighty knows what type of maltreatment at the enemy's hands. I have to break them down and build them back up to be lean, mean, killing machines.
Are you at all concerned that when you stamp out their individuality and extinguish their empathy for anyone not wearing their uniform, that they might find it difficult to not respond with violence when they encounter a problem in civilian life?
Son, we are the G.I. Joes. For us, there's no such thing as civilian life. Most Joes don't survive long enough to retire.
Doesn't that make you feel sad about the brief life you're training them for?
What are you, some kind of faggot?
No, sir, I'm British.
Just as bad. We've been saving your dainty little highness for almost 100 years. And you have the nerve to criticize how we do it? I ought to cut you where you stand. Then I'd have to do your little crew, too.
And no charges would ever be brought.
Looks like you have learned something after all.
Everybody has to learn their limits. A G.I. Joe learns he has no limits. Getting my hide beat every day toughened me up. It made me resolve never to let anything beat me again.
This recruit allegedly fragged his commanding officer and 3 teammates, which activated yet another elite group, the G.I. Joe legal staff. No one disputes the important job the G.I. Joe organization performs in keeping the world safe from the megalomaniacal plots of Cobra and other would-be world beaters. I would just humbly ask, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Really? All right, well, and now back to your regularly scheduled bullshit. Here's a hilarious statistic. as of 2010, 22 veterans a day committed suicide. Are we taking care of these people? Is that supporting the troops? I wonder. Audie Murphy, who was a World War II war hero and became a movie star, he was asked one time, how does one survive a war? He replied, I don't know that one does. Which is pretty heavy, man, pretty heavy. He saw the you-know-what hit the you-know-what else. And the thing is that we have a long history of soldiers returning from battle with their guns and getting into trouble in peacetime. After the Civil War, a lot of the soldiers came back on both sides and became the gunslingers of the Wild West. And after World War I, I don't know why they called it World War I. That's just asking for another one to happen. Makes it inevitable almost. After the First World War, a lot of those soldiers came back, and they became the gangsters of the Roaring '20s, the Tommy gun, the gun that made the '20s roar, and during Prohibition and the gangsters of the Great Depression. And then after World War II, a lot of the soldiers that were enjoying riding around on Harley-Davidson motorcycles, Harley-Davidson, not Harley David, nobody's ever heard of him, that's ridiculous. His son, Harley-David's son, who made the motorcycles, yeah, they came back, and some of them formed the Hell's Angels outlaw motorcycle gang. Yeah, no trouble with those guys. And then the veterans returning from Korea and from Vietnam, a lot of them ended up joining street gangs and putting their unique skill sets to work fighting other gangs and sometimes the police. Talk about fight the power. But a lot of these folks did come back and they joined law enforcement. And that's a good thing, They're fighting a good fight here at home. But you know what? We're going to have millions of servicemen and women coming back, and they can't all be, cops, prison guards, and bouncers at CBGBs. I think they closed that place, actually. This one? Hi, we're back. Where should I pick up? CBGBs? Okay. I get the heebie-jeebies from dancing around at the CBGBs, by golly. I haven't even been to New York. What am I talking about? I do not know, sir. I could not tell you what it is you're talking about because I simply do not understand you. You're speaking English, but pineapple banana cake. So I was thinking we got to get creative and find some jobs for our returning vets. Okay, how about this one? Personal trainer. You could easily picture a combat vet being a personal trainer, right? Come on, you're doing great. You're doing great. Don't stop now. Don't stop now. You're stopping. Give me 10 more, you road apple. Come on. Come on. Or how about as a skydiving instructor? Yeah, this would be good. Skydiving instructor. Okay, we're going to jump now. No, do not be afraid. You can do this. It's easy to jump out of a plane. It's even easier when nobody is shooting at you. No flak, man. It's all clear. Or my personal favorite, and I think this would be great. Oh, I should get in the light there. I was kind of in shadow there. it's getting kind of dark over there. Now I'm back in the light. Ah, go into the light, Moby, go into the light. No, wait, don't cross the beams. Okay, I'll just stand right like this. Okay, cool. Flying solo. Whoa! My favorite job idea for a returning combat veteran. Marriage counselor. Marriage counselor, why not, man? Who knows more about how to hurt other people than a combat veteran? They know all the techniques. Come on, man. And, they sit him down and, listen, Wally, listen to me, okay? You do not want to gouge her eyes out. Firstly, your thumbs, they're too short, they're stubby, it's just going to be a mess. It's not going to work. Look, what you want to do is you want to apply pressure to the throat. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. No. What you want to do is you want to work this out peacefully. You want to talk this through. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, I'm bombing. Speaking of bombing, woo, isn't it interesting how our vocabulary it's all about, like, guns and warfare and all this stuff, It's like, she's a straight shooter, right? I'm sticking to my guns. We were targeted. That's the bomb, Boy, I tell you, Ernie, he got loaded. He became a loose cannon, shooting his mouth off. That son of a gun. And I don't know why. George Carlin very wonderfully observed that in our national anthem, we have mention of rockets and bombs. That's kind of unusual. In fact, our great seal for the country is a bird of prey clutching arrows and spears. But here's a fun fact. Benjamin Franklin, his original design featured a turkey holding long stem roses and a box of chocolates. I like that. I thought that was a sweet little seal for the country. It's like, hey, we want to be friends, But guns, right? Now, I don't know if the Pilgrims brought muskets with them, but I do know that from Jonestown on, Jamestown? Yeah, Jonestown, different place. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Actually, it wasn't Kool-Aid, it was Flavor Aid. It was like a cheap Kool-Aid knockoff, right? You're in a cut-rate doomsday cult when they can't even pony up for actual Kool-Aid, man. What, were they afraid somebody would say Kool-Aid and the big pitcher would smash through the wall and save everybody? I don't know. Jamestown, thank you. So from Jamestown on, man, they have used the rifle to pacify the natives and to tame the land. Yeah. And when we told the English we'd smell you later, we wrote it right into our Constitution. Yes, we did. Don't argue with me. Yes, we did, young man. In fact, I'll read it to you. Here it is, the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, in full. I think we've got enough time for this one. It's a bit lengthy. I'll read the whole thing. I'll pretend I'm gonna filibuster. That's it, by golly. If I can't have my rollies, I'm gonna filibuster. I want my M16. All right. The Second Amendment, as read by Moby. All right. Oh, shit. I almost fell down. That would have been hilarious. That would have got a laugh, right? That one. Okay. The Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. One frickin' sentence. One sentence. Although some historians have said that they're kind of dubious about it. They seem to think that it was a typo, and it really meant that the right to bear arms meant that you could have short sleeves. But I think that this is pretty clear, I think it's pretty clear. It doesn't mean you can build up a freaking arsenal in your home. No, you can stick that up your arsenal. Oh my goodness. But people have been rallying for decades around this particular issue. and I find it rather disturbing. These people, I don't want to put it like that, but there are those among us who, for whatever crazy mixed up reason, seem to think that the government is trying to take away their guns, right? They're going to take away our guns. Ah! So I got to have a whole bunch of them. Why? To give them more to carry out of your home? I don't get it, right? They're going to take away our guns, even though no public official, present or past, to my knowledge, which is limited, I'll admit, has ever said anything to that point. Aha! Of course they're not going to say that's what they're up to. Then everybody would know that that's what they're planning. Of course. Whatever somebody never says, that's what they're trying to do. Of course. So on the pro-gun side, you've got these people who are they're afraid and distrustful of their government, which, that might be a good idea sometimes. And so they spiral into paranoia. Right? There's been a construction boom over the last 10 years, if you're ready for this. Not in building houses, but in building safe rooms and shelters in people's backyards. They're spending their money so they can survive the apocalypse or whatever horrible thing that's tragically going to happen. Good Lord, I sure am glad that I spent all those hours putting those rollies together. This is just working out great. All right, well, hey, why cry over spilt milk? Spilt beer, that's another matter. I will cry over spilt beer if it's a lot, and if it's on my rug, and if it's going to stink the place up. I will cry about that. I'll go, why have you forsaken me? All righty. Wouldn't that be weird if you heard an answer? Because I don't like you. Well, okay, we got that cleared up. So there's that. And then you've got the anti-gun people or the non-pro-gun people who are worried that armed maniacs are going to turn their shopping mall into a shooting gallery or a shooting galleria. Hey, come for the pizza, stay for the paramedics. But what I don't understand is why your right to have a gun trumps my right not to get shot at in public, right? It's like your right to smoke a cigarette trumps my right not to get secondhand cancer. I mean, granted, it's cheaper, Hey, man, I got some free cancer. Those other people, they're paying fortune smoking and getting it. I got mine for free. Ha ha! Now I get to take all these drugs. Yeah, people say that if everybody had guns, then nobody would start anything, right? Come on, okay. Well, that worked so well in the Wild West, didn't it? Do you want your local city to turn into the Wild West? Marshal Wyatt Earp had a great idea. When folks would come into town, he would have them turn in their shooting irons. I reckon you ought to turn in your shooting irons. And that went really well until somebody didn't want to, and then they shot up the place. So it kind of worked for a while. It worked until it didn't. And here's the thing. Why would you even name a town Tombstone? Why would you do that? Don't you know that's just begging for trouble? What should we call it? I know. Let's call it Tombstone. Excellent. That's much better than Stinky Old Graveyard. Yeah! They were going to call it Stinky Old Graveyard, but Tombstone, now that rings a bell, yeah. And who would move to a town called Tombstone? Why? Why? You're in Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Honey, let's move to Tombstone. Well, it's either that or Murderer's Cove. You decide, okay? I'll leave it to you. You want to be in charge of everything? You decide. Tombstone, Murderer's Cove, it's up to you. You decide. I don't want to hear about it anymore. When I was a kid, we didn't have all the horrific kind of things that you see on the news these days. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying it wasn't as publicized. Well, yeah, I am saying it didn't happen. It wasn't like this. It was not like this, okay? When I was a kid, a milk carton had a picture of like a pastoral setting, not a picture of a missing kid. And you didn't have, all these home invasions. You didn't have the street gangs. They fought with knives and to jazz music. Da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. They didn't drive by shooting into houses from their troublemobiles. I mean, they would look at each other. I'm going to kill you. You right there? I'm going to kill you right now. No, it's like, I think he's in that house. Let's get out of here. Oh man, we killed a kid and an old lady. Well, she was old anyway, but the kid I feel bad about. We didn't have mass shootings like this. Okay, sure, somebody would climb up into a clock tower every 20 years or so and pick off about 8 or 9 people. Texans mostly, so I mean, There was over a dozen of them last year, and if you don't have your abacus, that's more than once a month. These shootings, mass shootings, they used to be at college campuses, then they were in high schools. Now the one at Sandy Hook Elementary. I don't understand the mind of a mass shooter anyway. Not that I should, right? That would be disturbing. These mass shootings, okay, I can kind of see you get mad at a person and you want to hurt them. That I can see. I can't see shooting them. But going into a public place and shooting a whole bunch of people you don't even know? What's with that, right? At least shoot some people that you dislike. It's like these guys in Columbine. They shot a whole bunch of people. Some of them were their friends. Most of them were people they didn't even know. And I bet you when they got surrounded by the cops and they knew they couldn't kill anybody else, they're like, oh man, you know what? We didn't even get Flash Thompson. Damn. We really should have planned this out better. Dang. There's like 8 guys I really wanted to kill, too, and we didn't get any of them. Anyways, the NRA, they say about school shootings, hey, arm the teachers. That's a great idea. Arm the teachers, because that's the problem with the shootings, is that there are not enough guns in the school. Right, more guns, that'll solve the problem. Me, I would be worried that not about a student or a stranger coming in to the school and going off. I would be worried about the teacher going off, right? The teacher going off to the unruly kids, Class! 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 Shut up or I'll murder every damn last one of you! Ah! Or something like that. Yeah, no, the answer to the gun violence problem is, of course, more guns. Just like the answer to alcoholism is more beers. Sure! Hello, I'm Naomi Gotcha, and welcome to Gotcha Now. Tonight, I'm joined by National Weapons Association spokesperson, Gunny G. Gunderson.
Thank you. And yes, the G is for guns.
Mr. Gunderson, given the spate of recent gun violence, 26 mass shootings last year alone, don't you think the time has come for comprehensive gun control legislation?
No, ma'am, I do not. The NWA opposes any new legislation. Instead, we should be enforcing existing laws already on the books. Look, the Southside Slasher killed 14 people. You don't hear anybody raising a ruckus about knife control.
Those were serial killings.
Naomi, I frankly never understood why the right to bear arms, to defend oneself, and our glorious way of life should be the Second Amendment. Why should free speech come before the right to blow some dang fool's head off? I tell you, if some godforsaken dope fiend were to come a-breaking into my house, which would be quite some feat, as I live in a gated community, surrounded by a barbed wire fence and an alligator-filled moat. My home is a veritable fortress. I say if said ne'er-do-well were to get in and try to have his way with my good lady wife or my presumably virginal daughter, I would not defend them with the right of unregulated discourse. No, ma'am. I'll call forth my trusty MAC-10 home defense rifle with night scope 50-round clip of hollow point cyanide-tipped shells. Oh, and that sorry sack of scum, he would be adorning my wall like a painting by that jack-off potluck, feller.
I think that you mean Jackson Pollock, but you have to remember that the framers of the Constitution, when they included the Second Amendment, well, the most powerful gun in existence was the musket, and that had to be reloaded after a single shot.
Oh, Naomi, what about the cannon? The framers of the Constitution, our founding fathers, they did not forbid the use of a cannon. That's because they didn't want any limits. They were in open revolt against those crumpet-eating British, and they knew if they got captured, they would need everybody to have a gun so that they could, when they went to go and hang them, they could shoot the rope just at the last minute and they could escape.
Well, as cinematic as that all sounds, at the very least, you must agree that there should be background checks to prevent criminals and the mentally ill from purchasing guns.
Background checks is just another way for the government to gather intel on you, so that when they send the jackboots to come to kick in your door, they'll know just how many to send.
But what about gun shows? Anybody can buy anything at a gun show. I got this at a gun show. They didn't check my background or anything. I told them I needed it for excavating for dinosaur bones.
If a crook wants a gun, all he's got to do is break into somebody's home and steal one. This is all a smoke screen. The government wants to be the only ones to have any guns.
Well, what about just limiting the magazine clips to 10 rounds?
If they tried to limit the number of tattoos you had on your lower back, you wouldn't say no, you'd say hell no.
But you must admit, you don't need an AK-47 to go deer hunting.
No, you don't need one. And it sure is a pain in the backside to get all those slugs out of the carcass, less'n you got a high-powered magnet, which I do.
Well, at least shouldn't there be a gun safety training before someone could buy a gun? I mean, you can't even drive a car unless you take a driving test first.
No, indeed. Guns are so easy to use, they practically shoot themselves.
So, no limits at all.
Not to reveal the extent of my own arsenal, but in my home, I have an AR-15, an RPG, 2 Stinger missiles, and a rusty bear trap.
Well, even with all that, if your worst case scenario did come true and the government did come in to confiscate your weapons, you must realize you still could never prevail against the might of our army.
No, ma'am, it surely would not. But I would go down in a blaze of glory, not seen since Custard's last stand. As a matter of fact, got my eye on a M47 patent tank on eBay.
I suppose next you're going to tell me that they sell Predator drones.
Well, that would be ridiculous.
Ah, so you agree there should be some limits.
Not at all. I'm just saying it'd be ridiculous to try to use a Predator drone for home defense.
Really, no limits at all.
You have got to accept just how powerful the NWA really is. Every time gun control gets mentioned in the media, sales of guns and ammo skyrocket. Watch. Gun control, gun control, gun control. See? Now all the sporting goods stores have to restock their shelves.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. I thank you, Gunny G. Gunderson of the National Weapons Association, for sharing your time and your cynicism.
That's it. But I still have some talking points left. You'll wish that I could get my hands on an ultimate nullifier when Galactus comes to devour the Earth.
Well now, Jean Louise Finch, whatever's the matter, girl? Phew. Well, I prefer to be called Scout. And who in tarnation are you? I'm Michelle, young lady, and the question still stands. Phew. Sorry, I didn't mean no disrespect, Michelle. Just looky yonder.
Oh, fiddlesticks. I can't shoot to save my skin.
Well, it's not time to worry about that yet, Jem. Just keep your head and try it again.
see, after my brother Jim found out that Atticus used to be renowned as old one-shot, he wore him down to teach him how to shoot. And you feel left out? But you have a rifle too. Phew, of course. Uncle Jack gave us each one for Christmas. Old Atticus said he'd rather we shot cans, but allowed we could shoot whatever blue jays we could. But it's a sin to kill a... Yes, but what you need to win your father's affection is superior firepower. May I introduce you, Scout, to Chirp, my first assault rifle. Pew! Oh, happy day! It's ever such a darling. It's compact and stylish and can fire 100 rounds a minute before reloading. Pew! And as a bonus, Jen will be jealous enough to burst. Pew! With an arsenal like this, I can shoot my way back into old Atticus's heart.
Well now, that's some mighty fine shooting there, Scout. Mighty fine.
Sure, my first assault rifle comes in blue, pink, and rainbow. 100-round clips are available in hollow point, armor piercing, and depleted uranium shells. Get yours today. Woo!
Anyways, where was I? Oh, yes, I was a kid. I was young as a child. No, but it's not only about freedom, it's also about lawlessness. Lawlessness. How many highway speed limit signs have you seen with bullet holes in them? Huh? A show of hands, right? We've all seen this speed limit, and there's bullet holes. Somebody said, F you, I got a gun. Right? Cop pulls me over, I got a gun. Speeding ticket, oh, I don't think so, I got a gun. You know, and the cops now, they have to pretty much assume that everybody's got a gun. I nearly got shot 3 times. 3 times in my life, okay? I'll really quickly recount them to you. The first time was when I was a stupid teenager down in Burbank, California, wonderful Burbank, California, and we were in this wonderful pedestrian tunnel, my friend Jonathan and I. 10 minutes to go still. Excellent. Time travel. Woo-woo-woo-woo-woo. We still got 10 more minutes. All right. I must have been talking really fast just now. Okay, and my friend Jonathan and I, we were shooting. There's another one, shooting. We were filming in glorious Super 8 millimeter, and I had a starter pistol, and I was pointing it at him while he was photographing me. We were having a gun battle, and all of a sudden I hear this voice: "Freeze! Drop the gun now!" And I turned around, and there was a couple of cops at the end of the tunnel pointing real guns at me. And so I dropped the gun. They let us get away. They gave us a warning. They said, "Man, we could have killed you dead." And as if there's another way of killing somebody. And so we thanked them profusely, and we ran away. And then the next time was when I was working at a Taco Bell. We got robbed at gunpoint, and that was very frightening. And yes, that was taco sauce on my pants. Yes, it was. Case closed. The third time was the scariest of all. My friend Chance and I, we were at his place, and yes, we were on acid. Okay, it was more than 8 years ago. So, I was teasing him about a teddy bear that his girlfriend had given him, and all of a sudden he produced from under his bed his rifle, which he got from the Marines, and pointed it at me. It was loaded, and he was ready to shoot me. I gave up the bear and made a mental note that, yes, the Marines have changed my friend. Yes, indeed. And that was quite scary indeed. And the reason I mention this is because if you have a gun in your home, the likelihood of somebody being shot with it who is not a ne'er-do-well nor a villain or, rapscallion type of person, the odds are possible. If you have no gun in your home, the likelihood of you accidentally shooting Johnny as he sneaks in through the window because it's after his curfew and he didn't want to wake anybody up, right? Or, or of somebody robbing your home, taking your gun, going out on the street and shooting somebody else with it. Wouldn't you feel bad about it? I'll tell you what, folks. Instead of getting a gun, why don't you do this? Learn karate. Hi-ya! Hi-ya! Huh? What I'm saying is this. A lot of people, they commit suicide. I have known a lot of people who are dead now because they killed themselves. Only one or two of them used a gun. Most of them were a bit more inventive. But if there's a gun in the home and you're suicidal or you're very depressed, you're more likely to kill yourself using that gun. So having that gun, it just makes it more like, why? Because no matter how depressed you are, you're going to be too lazy to go walk and jump off the bridge. You're going to, that's just, I'll do that later. Having a gun in the home is like, hey, why not? Because it's there, right? It's just like Mount Everest. Because it's there. So I hope that you folks will not kill yourselves. And I hope that you will think twice about having a gun in your home. And I hope that you will pressure some person who has some power to get some comprehensive gun control legislation going. Could we please? And, the best way that you can support the troops is hire one. But the important thing for being a warrior is to know to fight wars. No, wrong. That's wrong. No, fight war, not wars. That's right. That's the first thing I've screwed up all night. All righty, well, I'm glad that you guys could tune in, and I hope you'll tune in to the next show. I promise nothing will go wrong then. Yeah, 'cause I'm a straight shooter. I shoot from the hips. I shoot first and ask questions later. I take names and such.
My country, Titsily, sweet land of liberty, and they won't take it away from me. Think about what you'll do when Big Brother comes for you. Too late to call the ACLU. But I have got the nards, and I hold all the cards on account of what I built in my backyard. I'll be ready when it happens, whatever it may be. They'll be out of luck, son, when they come sniffing after me. I'll be safe until hell freezes, when it all goes helter-skelter, patiently awaiting Jesus in my bunker. Oh, I mean shelter. The air is filtered deep inside from anthrax and cyanide, and the outside hatch is electrified. Got 100 gallons of spring water, and I'm sure that it ought to be enough for me, my dog, my wife, and daughter. There's 26 pounds of string cheese, 10 cases of MREs, and a lifetime supply of Chef Boyardee. I've planned for all necessities. We'll make our own electricity to play video games and our favorite DVDs. I'll be ready when it happens, whatever it may be. Black helicopters, predator drones, or thugs from MTV. We'll have everything to please us, as the world topside to swelter, patiently awaiting Jesus in my bunker. I mean shelter. Got an M16 with 100-round clips, and they've got hollow tips in the event of a zombie apocalypse. Hey, it could happen. I've got 13 Bibles just in case we get invaded from outer space, and it's up to me to save the human race. These aliens I'd call, and I'd baptize them all in a ceremony on the National Mall. Their souls turn to the light. Chuckling, I would ignite white phosphorus to burn them through the night. I'll be ready when it happens. Just you wait and see. The fire may consume you, but its tongues they won't lick me. We'll be feeling cool breezes as the ice caps melt, sir. Patiently awaiting Jesus in my bunker. I mean shelter. Hey, who needs a home when you've got a tomb? Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you this. Back when if we had had a gun in our home, when I was a kid and I was being bullied, I don't think I would have developed much of a sense of humor. Wouldn't have had to, right? I would have been like the popular kids. They don't have to develop a personality. They're good looking. Yeah. All right. Well, before the government comes and takes away my guns, oh my, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank everybody that, oh, well, okay, we got 2 minutes. I want to thank everybody for coming on down and being part of my studio audience. Give yourselves a lot of hands. Thank you. You're too kind. And I want to thank the wonderful folks here at BCM, Lily and Bryn and Steven and Mike and all the cats and chicks and dudes and dudettes and bastards and bastettes and what have you, bistros and beef stroganoffs, and there was, okay, I won't go there. But anyways, you know, folks, it's a good time. It's summertime. Enjoy yourselves. For me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to go back down into my bunker and wait it out. And you can watch me sitting in my bunker for the next minute or so. All right. Now, hey, I got some grenades. Yeah, I brought a whole bunch of grenades, and they all fell right off of me immediately. Let's see what happens when you pull the pin. Arm it. It's a dud. Yep, it's a dud. They should have hit this one with a mallet in the factory, right? Oh, well. Folks, I hope that you've had fun.
People of Earth, prepare yourselves. Galactus has come to devour your world.
I knew it. If only I had that ultimate nullifier.
Don't worry, I've got this.
Yummy.